violence and other kind of violence.
Get away! I could be at work, at school, in my car, I can still get shot by the police, but I can get shot anywhere.
So it is what it is.
What's good, cyberspace? It's the Black Gen Z Mindset. Make sure you go ahead and like, comment, share, subscribe, and let's get into the video.
A well-known Detroit area radio reporter is dead this morning, and his two children are injured after a chaotic crime scene at his home. Police say they found a 35-year-old woman and a 5-year-old girl stabbed and injured outside a condo in Chesterfield, Michigan. Inside the condo, they found the body of 57-year-old Jim Mathews and a 10-year-old boy who'd been badly beaten. Investigators say the suspected killer was still in the house, but had overdosed and was suffering from self-inflicted wounds.
He was welcomed into the home initially. From that point, it's still too early to really go into what happened.
Oh my gosh. Neighbors say the suspect lived across the street. Mathews had just worked the overnight anchor shift at Detroit's WWJ.
A terrible attack in Chesterfield Township, and tonight we are learning WWJ overnight news anchor Jim Mathews was the man killed. His family also injured, including his two children, ages 10 and 5.
Chesterfield.
So this could have easily been that 95-year-old woman, but instead it is a older glider male. Now, I made the video, Super Gremlins are hunting white women in New Orleans, and I got some pushback. I got some flack for that. But would it be safe to say that Super Gremlins were hunting everybody? So that statement is not even invalid. As a matter of fact, I might name this video, Super Gremlins are hunting white men and their families, because this is what's going down right now. Would I be wrong in that assessment? No.
Township police said the man who killed Mathews and injured his family tried to kill himself, but was not successful. Mara McDonald live in Chesterfield tonight. Mara, you just spoke with Mathews' family.
I sure did, Devin. I spoke with his brother Joe, who says tonight if everybody could do just one thing, which would be pray for Jim's two small children. You can see behind me, police are still processing the condo, which is the crime scene here, and what those two children had to endure in here can only be described as a nightmare.
Jim Mathews spent years on WWJ as their solid, dependable overnight news anchor. Mathews was his on-air name. His legal name was Jim Nikolai. And we spoke to his brother Joe this evening about his brother's pride in working at J Radio.
He was so excited when he got back. I was so happy for him when he got into WWJ. Since he was a little kid, he's wanted to be a DJ.
Colleagues describe him as an absolute professional. He lived here at this Chesterfield Township condo with the 35-year-old mother of their two children, a 10-year-old boy and 5-year-old girl. When police arrived on the scene, it was that 35-year-old and the daughter who had run into the parking lot looking for help.
A 35-year-old white female had escaped with her 5-year-old daughter. She was suffering from stab wounds at that time.
Wow.
The 5-year-old was also injured. When police got inside, they found Nikolai had been killed, his 10-year-old son in a closet.
We also found a 10-year-old white male bound and suffering from blunt force trauma.
Sources say that little boy was beaten with a hammer and left for dead in that closet.
Wow. Beating a little boy with a hammer. And you know, a lot of hype and hoopla is coming out surrounding the Dahmer series, the Netflix original series about Jeffrey Dahmer. But I mean, I would make the argument that although this is very different, a lot of these super gremlins don't get the opportunity to become something like that because they're just not good at getting away with their crimes. Or if they are, they're really on a crash out mentality. They're not doing these things methodical. But if this guy would have deleted this whole family like he wanted to, then he could have been on the same type of wave.
They say he fought back against the man police say is responsible for it all, a 54-year-old friend of the family who tried to kill himself by taking an overdose after the attack.
54-year-old friend of the family. Man, this is bad because they let this super gremlin in. He's an OG, an older super gremlin, and this is how he repaid them. And I'm sure they did everything in their power to contribute their part to, maybe it wasn't financial reparations, but just being very nice and kind and courteous and catering to this OG brother who appears to not be able to have his life together even by the time he's in his early 50s.
Pray for his children. His children are the ones that need the prayers and support.
Back here live tonight, those two children, 10 and 5, and their mother are all being treated for their injuries at a local hospital. That little boy's injuries are critical at this point. As far as the motivation for all of this, Chesterfield Township Police at this point merely classifying it as a domestic issue. We're live in Chesterfield Township tonight. I'm Mara McDonald, Local 4.
Just horrendous, Mara. Our thoughts with the family and, of course, with our colleagues over at WWJ as well.
I mean, I don't know how people can do stuff like that.
It's been a roller coaster of a day for residents near this Chesterfield condo complex. From the shock of hearing police sirens to the horror in hearing the details of what took place.
Our investigation has determined that this is an isolated tragedy that does not present a danger to our community at this time.
According to Chesterfield Police, around noon, someone driving by found...
But see, that's not accurate either, because every day these reoffending super gremlins on demon time are being let out because of criminal justice reform and bail reform and all these measures that cater to the criminals. Every day, they're putting the community at risk and other communities at risk because these people are not being held accountable for their actions. And then they're going out and doing things like this, and we wonder why.
Found a 35-year-old woman and her 5-year-old daughter who escaped from this condo building. The woman had been stabbed and both were injured. Police then forced their way inside, where they found the 57-year-old father dead. An injured 10-year-old boy was bound and beaten in a closet, and in the basement, the alleged suspect, who was overdosing and had self-inflicted wounds.
It's terrible. I mean, he's the same age as my grandson, so, you know, makes you think.
Soon after, WWJ Radio identified the man killed as their overnight anchor, Jim Mathews. He was the children's father and returned home after going off the air at 5 a.m. In a statement, the station said in part, "There have been many tears shed in our newsroom today, and Jim will be greatly missed. Our thoughts and prayers go out to Jim's family and friends during this difficult time."
He just seemed like a reserved man, very quiet and kind of shy. And but he seemed to really like his kids.
Neighbors say the suspect lived across the street and was often seen with the woman. Police also say he was at the home frequently, and his exact relation is still unknown.
He was welcomed into the home initially. From that point, it's still too early to really go into what.
Wow, man. I mean, these dudes are so deceptive too. They can put on a front that they're a decent guy. Obviously, people are going to say he was struggling with mental health issues and all that kind of stuff to give him an out. But this dude is a monster. And there are way too many of these super gremlins on demon time walking around in our society.
The suspect and the 5-year-old girl are in stable condition, but the mother and 10-year-old boy are still critical as police continue to piece together this chaotic and horrific tragedy.
The Chesterfield Public Safety Department will not rest until we have received justice for our victims.
I'm here on the corner of MLK and Frederick Douglass, where a shooting just took place. And as you can see, it's pretty rough area. So I'm basically risking my life reporting on this madness. So make sure you do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. Like the video, hell, share the video. And make sure you go ahead and leave a comment down in the comments section to continue the discussion on how we can find solutions to all this son violence in the streets. I'm Jenquavius Jackson, here live, reporting from Atlanta, Georgia, BGZM News 17.
Thank you so much for joining us at 11. I'm Amira David.
And I'm Mike Duffy. Tonight, support pouring in for a Macomb County family.
They were brutally attacked by a man at their Chesterfield Township home on Friday. WWJ radio anchor Jim Mathews found dead. His 2 children are among the victims.
Now, family members have started a GoFundMe page to help with their long road to recovery. 7 Action News reporter Sarah Grummer spoke with the kids' grandmother and has an update on their conditions.
There's been a lot of concern coming from the Metro Detroit community about these 2 kids. Is there anything that you can tell people about how they are?
My granddaughter and her mother, they're both in stable condition, thank the Lord. My grandson, he is still in ICU and in critical condition.
Days after WWJ anchor Jim Mathews was attacked and murdered inside of this family condo, the family grandmother, Sonia Healy, tells me that the mother and children, all horrifically assaulted, remain in the hospital.
Man. A super gremlin who would do this to children, man. The evil that is being unchecked, that is being excused. It's ridiculous.
The 10-year-old son who allegedly tried to protect his father is sedated after being brutally beaten. This GoFundMe, created by one of Sonia's daughters, the children's Aunt Ashley, says the young boy has undergone brain and ear surgery.
I'm sure he probably did all he could to try to protect his father that he adored. Him and his father were very, very close.
Sonia tells me that her daughter Ashley, who started the GoFundMe, is watching over the kids for the time being, but she doesn't have any clothes or toys, and the home where the kids lived is now considered a crime scene, so family can't go in there to get their things.
As they have nothing right now, absolutely nothing.
And this super gremlin just turned their life upside down. And they still have not showed us a picture, given us a description. It's tragic.
They plan on doing a savings account and just use that money for anything that the children need.
On the GoFundMe, Aunt Ashley describes what these kids endured as a vicious and needless attack. Family says they'll need lifelong help to adapt and recover. They also say thank you to all of you at home who have pulled together in the last couple of days to help them.
I think it is amazing to see how many people are coming together hoping to help you guys and sending their love to you. Is there anything else that you want those people to know?
Keep up with the prayers. The amount of prayers that I've been getting from even strangers has been astronomical. Please keep up with the prayers.
Family tells me more scary details about what these kids had to endure that police will likely confirm in the next coming weeks.
And we're going to keep up with this because we want to know all the details of what this sick, demented, super OG gremlin on Demon Time did to this father and his family.
In the meantime, if you would like to help out these kids, the link to this GoFundMe can be found with this article on WXYZ.com. Reporting in Southfield, Sarah Grummer, 7 Action News.
It's just so incredibly sad for everyone. And as you mentioned, a member of our own community, the 57-year-old victim who was found dead inside of that home, Jim Mathews, an overnight anchor for WWJ. So our hearts go out to his family, everyone dealing with this incredible tragedy. We had a chance to speak with witnesses who saw his apparent girlfriend come out of the home, a 35-year-old woman cradling her 5-year-old after having been stabbed, covered in blood. I want you to hear from a neighbor who was getting all of the details and his reaction to this horror.
I think it's crazy. I can't make sense of it. So it's really got me boggled.
You can't make sense of it? Well, obviously you're not watching my channel. There is something wrong with us in the community. And we want to graze over it. We want to look over it. We want to shush anybody that speaks on it, especially people like me. Y'all know how they do in my YouTube channel. And just the comments. People DMing me, all types of crazy stuff. But we can't let that stop us from getting the message out that these super gremlins are on demon time.
And all the victims were living there together. Here's what we know. The suspect was frequently at the home. They're still trying to understand how the suspect knew the people inside and the details of the relationship between everyone. Around noon, they got the call about this tragic scene on Bayview near Hooker Road. And when police got inside, that's when they would discover what was absolute horror. The 57-year-old man found dead, again, is Jim Mathews of WWJ. The son the couple shared, a 10-year-old boy bound in a closet, in critical condition right now, suffering from blunt force trauma. They located the suspect in the basement, a 54-year-old man suffering from apparent self-inflicted wounds and an overdose, they note. That man is in stable condition. The 35-year-old female is described by the chief in critical but stable condition. Her 5-year-old daughter is also stable. Now, I want to let you know how the chief described how she was able to get help and call police. Listen to this.
When the woman was able to escape from the home, there was a vehicle that stopped and assisted her, and that's who initially called 911, or allowed her to call 911.
Wow, so shout out to her. Very brave. She, saved her family's life. Unfortunately, her husband didn't make it, but she saved the children's life if the little boy pulls through, and her own. Woo, man, talk about a crazy situation.
Now, again, this is just so incredibly tragic out here. So many neighbors shaken. But remember, a family is dealing with this awful tragedy as police try to figure out how something so horrendous could have happened. I'll send it back to you in the studio.
Live with our first look at the man now charged with killing WWJ news anchor Jim Mathews and seriously injured.
This is a 54-year-old man, 54-year-old black man. And you're out here deleting or trying to delete a family that took care of you, that cared about you, that were your friends. Sheesh.
His girlfriend and young children. And we are also learning new information into the gruesome attack in Chesterfield Township.
Let's break down the charges. 55-year-old Arthur Williamson is charged with first-degree murder and felony murder. He's also facing multiple charges of assault with intent to murder and unlawful imprisonment. Sean Lay is live tonight, and Sean, we're getting a.
What about,
we are also.
He needs some
murder
child charges, doing something to a minor or something.
Charges of assault with intent to murder and unlawful imprisonment. Sean Lay is live tonight, and Sean, we're getting a better sense of the timeline here. Talk us through it.
Let's talk about the timeline first. We're talking about Arthur Williamson. Police are telling us he was invited as a guest into the Jim Mathews condo here in Chesterfield Township. You see behind me overnight Friday while Jim Mathews was on the air doing the news at WWJ. Let's also talk something about motive right now because sources are saying that there was evidence of drug use inside the home.
I'm so angry that this person was even there.
Joe Nicolai is the brother of WWJ overnight news anchor Jim Nicolai, known on the air as Jim Mathews. He wants to know why 54-year-old Arthur Williamson of Pontiac, a man with a long history of convictions and violence.
See, they probably was trying to give him a job, trying to help him out, trying to get him back on his feet, overlooked his charges. Told you he got a criminal history, arrest record that looks like a CVS receipt. I mean, These things, they just write themselves.
Violent crimes was invited inside the family home while Jim Mathews was at work last Friday. By noon Friday, Jim was found inside the home, stabbed to death. His girlfriend, Nicole, was bound and stabbed. The couple's 5-year-old daughter, we are told, was badly hurt. The couple's 10-year-old son was stabbed and tied up, found in a closet.
I believe that was attacked by trying to stop the assailant from killing his mother and father.
Williamson was found in the basement, police say incapacitated, but now facing murder, assault, and imprisonment charges. A judge quickly holding him without bond.
The court has already made the ruling that the bond is going to be denied. There will be no bond set, no bail set today, sir.
Police are calling this a case of domestic violence. However, sources say there is evidence of drug use inside the home. They're working on a timeline of when Williamson...
Can you name what drug he was using that made him do this? Obviously, they're going to blame it on the drugs.
Arrived there.
Again, he arrived sometime during the middle of the night and was welcomed in, as a guest of the home.
See, he arrived in the middle of the night. For one, it's like, why are you letting this super gremlin in your house in the middle of the night? Stay with your kids. This is the wokeness. This is the wokeness that we're talking about. Like, I'm not saying you can't do nice things, but this is OD. This is what they're asking people to do with the homeless in California. Like, if y'all think this is a good idea to bring these random super gremlins in your home, you got another thing coming.
Also today, signs of progress for the couple's son, hurt so badly in this vicious attack.
And he did come out of it a little bit. He was showing signs, minuscule bit of progress, which is great. I didn't think he would come this far. He was able to squeeze his Annie's hand and look up at her, into her eyes. And see a loving family member there who's there comforting him.
Now, Mathews' brother Joe, he also adds there's a GoFundMe. We've talked about this to support Jim Mathews' 2 surviving children here to help them recover from this absolutely horrific attack. He believes his brother came home after his shift at WWJ and walked into this situation and was attacked and was murdered. He says longtime girlfriend here, Nicole, has been upgraded to stable condition in the hospital. He believes police are going through cell phones, text by text message here that may start linking up some of these puzzle pieces from a horrific situation. Ladies, back to you.
Such a tragedy for this entire family. Sean, do we know if any weapons were found there at the home?
There was talk early about a hammer possibly being used here to attack this family, but we're being told tonight by sources that police have recovered a knife. So much more to come.
All right, and I know you'll be following it.
Gang violence and other kind of violence. So it is what it is.